I think.
It's happening.
Very good. Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you, Joanna, so much. This has been a mission for us to figure out when and how to connect for a cup of gratitude. I am so excited to have Joanna here as my guest and lots of new faces here who I imagine are Joanna's friends, some of
Hi.
my kind of regulars, and I know that I imagine that there's a few more other people who will be popping in who are kind of part of
Yeah.
regular crowd kind of deal. So, anyways, I want to thank you all for being here. I'm Lisa Berman. I am a life coach. I work with folks really to empower them to kind of live the life that they love, to live a life in harmony with one's vision and with the goals. And this Cup of Gratitude live podcast is one of my favorite babies because it is an opportunity to bring together people to talk about gratitude, and it's always a fun conversation. And I'm so excited to have Joanna here. Joanna and I met on Instagram, kind of, her tulips. I think somehow I stumbled upon your tulips and then we've just kind of have connected over time with her gorgeous tulips. So,
I was
and I know it's,
wondering how we met. Was it via Instagram, or were you at a conference that I went to out in Portsmouth at the music hall? That
oh, the Ignite Your Soul. Well, I remember
Ignite
once
Your
you had a,
Soul. And
yes.
that's probably where we crossed paths
Oh,
somehow.
maybe that was it. I was thinking, yeah, I don't know, right. And maybe that was it. I don't know. But
Hmm.
anyways,
But I
yes.
feel like you
So
meet tons of people at those things.
at those things, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyways, so we've kind of crossed paths mostly over social media for the past several years now. So
Mm-hmm.
anyways, I'm excited to have Joanna here. I'm excited. I'm thrilled to have folks here. And so how this really operates is it is a Joanna and I kind of chat about gratitude, and then there's opportunity for people to ask questions, give feedback, share thoughts, all of those kind of pieces. So, anyways, Joanna, I would love for you to give an introduction. I know you do tulips and you are a photographer, but if you could just kind of give a quick little intro about who you are
Absolutely.
and what
I
you
do
do.
tulips. I do tulips. It's kind of funny. I was thinking about it earlier today, and I think a lot of people sometimes when you start something new, they feel awkward about saying what they are, what they want to be, right? So
Yeah.
the thing with tulips for me is I am a tulip farmer. And I love telling people that because it's such a unique thing, right? It's growing and growing, and the industry is absolutely beautiful, and there's so much room for it. But before I was a tulip farmer, I was a photographer. I went to college for photography. It's the one thing I went back to over and over again. Um, I used to work for a studio that did all the school portraits, and we'd have kids come, "Hi there, handsome.
Oh.
How you doing? Have a seat. Put your feet on the X. Look at me. Click. Next." Right? So 500 kids later. And there was one season where I was so exhausted. I said to the kids, "Say shit." And I didn't even mean to, but it just came out. And I always think back on that and like, oops, you can't say that. But I've become a portrait photographer. I've kind of done everything from weddings to newborns. And my career has shifted as my family has shifted, right? So when I was really into newborns, I had newborns. When I was getting married 18 years ago, I was really into weddings. And then I went to this conference one day and all the photographers stood up and they're like, "Oh, it's my passion." and I've told this story 100 times, so forgive me if you've heard it, but I remember standing up and saying, gardening's my passion, hiking's my passion, quilting's my passion. And I'm passionate about them for different reasons. I think I'm somebody who really tries to live a fulfilled life, and that's by doing the things that I love most. So the light bulb went off, and I was like, well, how can I incorporate gardening with my photography? And I started creating garden space in my yard where clients could come here. I had a studio at the time. I did a lot of studio lighting, which I really, really loved. But I found that people wanted to be out here more than in the studio. And so that's kind of where that shift happened.
I'm almost home. We're going to get you some food.
Oh, that Shellen is my cousin in Chicago. Shellen, can you hear
Sorry,
me?
I thought I was on mute.
And she has a baby. Look at everybody's checking. Am I on mute?
You're right.
Yeah.
So anyways, I started getting burnt out after years and years of photography, and I loved it. Like when I was in it, I loved it, but I really disliked the business end of things. And I met wonderful people through it, right? So I became really friendly with people, but it was just hard to run a business like that. And in the wintertime, when I gave up my studio space, I needed to find a way of creating income. And I think I was slowly diving into flower farming. There's these big names out there that offer courses, and one thing leads to another, as it does with Instagram. And I've met amazing people from all over the country. I absolutely love that platform. I would say I have like probably 5 girlfriends on Instagram that feel really near and dear to me, but I've never met them. So through that, I met somebody who had taken the tulip workshop over in Vermont. And I was like, I'm going to sign up for it. It was a good deal. Why not? In that first year, I grew 10,000 tulips. I had bought them and I didn't know where I was going to grow them. I had a chicken coop that was empty, no chickens left. The weasels and the raccoons were getting in way too often. So we turned the chicken coop into a small greenhouse, and we were able to pump out 10,000. I say we, my husband helps me a little bit. And he sits in the greenhouse with me and we enjoy our times there, but it's a lot. It's mostly on me. And so that 10,000 has turned into 70,000, and that's where we're at growing tulips. Wow. And the first year we were selling was during COVID, which was so spectacular because I would bring a bouquet to my neighbor's house and my neighbor would say, oh, if I pay you, can you deliver like 4 to these people?
Oh.
And it just kind of snowballed. Yeah. And that's where we say we grow love, share joy, right? And it just became this beautiful thing, and it kept growing and growing and growing. So we went from 10,000 to 30,000 to 50,000 to 74,000, and who knows where we're going next year. But it has been probably the most enjoyable thing I've ever done in my life. There's a Japanese term called the ikigai, and there's 4 phases of it. It's what the world needs, what you're good at, what you can make money doing, and one other thing, like what truly fills you or something like that. And growing tulips is my ikigai. Therefore, I am a tulip farmer, and I love saying that.
I love it. And your tulips are the most amazing tulips. So
they really are.
They really are. And you go out to various farmers markets in New Hampshire to where you sell a lot of them, or local shops kind of in the Concord area kind of deal. So
correct. We distribute to small local mom and pop shops, sometimes to florists. I do participate in farmers markets, which I have recently joined the board of the Downtown Concord Winter Farmers Market. And that brings me tremendous amounts of joy. I'm sure we'll get into this, but I'm in this new phase of life as my children are growing and flying the coop, and it's time for me to start investing in me and my time and my energy. And with that comes like, how can I give back? So I really enjoy being a part of the downtown Concord Winter Farmers Market. But I really love seeing people week after week after week. And they're like, oh my goodness, my tulips are still going from last week. So
Yes.
I don't need more, but I want more. And it's just such a beautiful thing.
Is. Well, thank you, Joanna. And I think that's what I love about your enthusiasm for joy and for life and for living life to the fullest. I think is what one is kind of one of those pieces about you that I was like, and I remember you were going through a phase with gratitude this, and I was like, Joanna, she would be a perfect guest for my cup of gratitude. So
Well,
anyway,
I don't know about that, but here we
oh,
are.
but yes, Joanna, you're so funny. Yes. So because gratitude is part of who you are, and I know that because I witnessed that, right? But Joanna and I have not talked about gratitude. So sometimes my guests are people where I know their stories and I know, but not with Joanna. And so, but I know that gratitude is part of who you are, Joanna. And so I'm kind of curious, do you have a gratitude practice or what might your gratitude practice look like? I'm always intrigued because I've had people who are like they represent gratitude, but they don't have a gratitude practice. And I'm like, oh wow, like
Mm.
you know, to others who have kind of very expansive practices. So I'm just kind of curious, Joanna, do you have a gratitude practice? What does that
I
look?
would say short answer is no. And it's funny when you ask me to do this, I'm like, wow, I don't have a gratitude practice. But you know, the thing is I think I live in gratitude.
Mhm.
And I'm really grateful for so many things. I really don't try to coat my life as being this beautiful hummingbird flower. I mean, like, this is it. This is the life that I've created that I want to live in. And within that, it fills my soul. So I used to journal religiously until I had a baby. And 22 years ago, I I did, and I love going back. And I have tried over and over and over again to start new journals, but I find that I always write about negative things when I journal. So for me, like, I think when I notice that I'm practicing gratitude, I'm going
Yeah.
for a walk. I have a loop that's
Mhm.
4 to 5 miles. It's by a pond. I see wildlife. And to me, like, I just really get into my head and then I let it all out and I just soak it all up. So for me, I think that would be my gratitude practice if I had to say I had one. Um,
Yeah. But I think that you live in gratitude. And I
yeah.
think that is kind of the best. I think that that's such a fantastic explanation because you do live in gratitude and it is so clear that that is part of your core, you know what I mean? And so, and you know, I think it's helpful for people to hear, right, that you don't have you because right, I have my gratitude practice of journaling and even that um changes over time. But I also, I work with a lot of clients who kind of can be stuck in a space. And oftentimes it's like, go take a 5-minute walk and look for those moments of beauty, look for those moments of, and so that's kind of even in that it's a gratitude practice, but and that's what you're doing, right, Joanna? You surround yourself with beauty and you spend time connected in
I
nature.
do. And one thing that I wanted, oh,
Go ahead.
you just froze for 2 seconds, but here you
Oh,
are. Um, One thing that I was saying about like this that surrounds me is I always try, I don't like to air my dirty laundry out. My true friends who are super close to me know my hardships, right? We all have them.
We all have,
But one thing that I keep in mind when it comes to social media is there's so much negativity and hard stuff in the world that nobody needs to hear mine, right? Like I keep that for my friends who are super close. So one thing every now and again, I like to just show people that I do suffer. I do have my own demons. I do have my struggles. I've made a lot of mistakes in life, some really hard ones. And one thing that I really try to teach my children in particular is like, own your stuff, own your mistakes, learn to apologize, learn when you're right and when you're wrong, right? And all of that is what makes everything else so beautiful. Like, oh, I did this and I hurt somebody, but I learned from that. And from that, I can give more love to the world and be a little softer with myself.
oh, I love
Would
that,
you
Joanne.
consider that gratitude? I don't know. I keep
Well,
going in my mind, like, how do I practice that?
how do you, well, I think that that is, kind of what you were just talking about is just that kind of how to be mindful and live
Mm.
in the moment, live connected with others. Um, and I think that that can be right, being grateful for mistakes made and lessons learned, right? There's value in kind of that learning from mistakes.
Grateful for forgiveness. Like that's
Grateful
huge,
forgiveness,
right?
exactly, yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah.
So I think that, right, it, living in gratitude is just
Yeah.
such a beautiful way to be, and I think that you do such a beautiful job with that. My glasses, I can't decide which glasses I want. They're driving me crazy. um so you used to have a gratitude practice then, Joanna? So in your journaling before you had kids, was that
Mhm.
just journaling or was that gratitude practice?
I would say that was just
Just
journaling. I
journaling.
recently spoke with my cousin who's been journaling for years. I think he said like 3 or 4 years. And every day he journals. This was so inspiring to me. And I was like, oh, I'm going to start doing this. But of course I didn't. But he journals every day and he reads back a year back in 3 years every single day. That is his practice. He is like a serious gratitude writing down person. And it's just not for me, right?
No.
And that's
Yeah.
okay. I'm okay with that.
Right. But I think, and that's what I love here is that each guest brings kind of a different story and a different practice to the table. And I love the ones that don't have a gratitude practice because
Yeah.
and they're the people often that I'm like, it's it's palpable, their gratitude. And so I think kind of that figuring out how to live in the moment and really appreciate um appreciating the here and the now and the
Yeah.
beauty that surrounds us, because so often, right, we can just get caught in the grind of the day and the responsibilities of family and of household and of work and all of those different pieces and really lose track of noticing the beauty of the moment,
Right.
kind of deal, you know.
So like one thing, I'm super grateful my mom lives 3 miles down the road. And what better way to practice gratitude than call her or say, Mom, come up for tea or let's go for a walk. And the same thing with my girlfriends. I am so grateful for my girlfriends. They are my world. They are the family I chose and I love. And I try to reach out to people all the time. And I'm not good at it with everybody, right? Like you
Right.
get in your cycles. But to me, like
Yeah,
that's practicing gratitude. I am
it
grateful for
is.
that person. Therefore, I'm going to let them know. I don't want to journal it. I want to act it,
You want to live into it,
live
right?
it.
I love that. I love that,
Yeah.
Joanna. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, girlfriends are the
Mm.
best. Yes.
Yeah. Love that.
um do you so What about when hard times hit, Joanna? So kind of
Mm.
usually my question is for people is, was there something that kind of triggered a gratitude practice, right? But we're gonna go a different route, right?
Okay.
So because I know, right, you, as we all do, we have struggles from time, different struggles kind of creep up. And I know that that is for you. So when you are in those hard times, Joanna, do you find that you don't turn to gratitude practices like on the regular, or do you kind of like a whoop, I need that little hit. I need that. I need to like to keep my head in the right space. Do you know what I
I
mean?
would, yeah, I would say definitely a little bit of both. There obviously are times where I can go down that dark tunnel
Yeah,
and
yeah.
want to stay in bed, but more often than not, and when I say I struggle, my struggles are really present. That is my children shifting, moving out. Family was everything to me, is everything to me. And I have boys, so I'm boy mom. They don't really call mom or text mom or want to hang out with mom. So it's
Right.
really hurtful because they were, they are my life, but they were my life. And I'm realizing now that my life is shifting so I can give more time to me. But before this shift happened, I described it as this fourth dimension, right? Like this spiritual peak. I was on cloud nine. My husband said I live life looking through rose gold goggles. And I was like, damn straight I do. Like if I can
Yep.
look at the world that way, then amen to me. Right.
Right.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
so I would say the majority of my life has been very uplifting and happy. I just and I would say I'm on the tail end of this struggle, a few years of struggling.
Yep.
My son was just here and it
Yes.
filled my heart so much. It was what I needed. It's what I've missed. I feel like I was healed. 3 years of hurting. I feel like it was healed and now it's Joanna's time. So just before he left, I did get certified to teach yoga. Um, it was probably the most vulnerable thing I've ever done. Um, and I thought, like, if I live with such happiness and peace and excitement for life, because this is one life to live, right? Like the talk show or the soap opera, one life to live. I love that hashtag, one life to live. Like this is it. So I started, I learned to teach yoga, but I was really scared to do it. And I don't practice nearly as much as I would like to. For various reasons. I'm busy. I grow a lot of tulips. So,
You are a busy
right.
girl,
So
yes.
it's hard
Mhm.
to give time to
Mhm.
myself. But you asked me, like, when the going gets tough, what do I do? Walking is my number one. That loop that I do, it is so soothing. If I feel myself kind of turning one way, I'll do that. If I can get to yoga class or log online and do a yoga class, I am super happy. Um, I love Insight Timer for the meditations. I love meditating.
Mhm.
It's something that I wish I did daily. And I wish everybody could calm their mind to do it, even if it's only for 5 minutes.
Excellent.
But oftentimes, like if I'm having a day where I'm stressed out or I'm busy with work, I'll lay down on my couch, select a insight timer for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and poof, I come back to life. It's like
Mhm.
watering a plant. You just come back to life.
Yep.
Um, Oh, the other thing that I didn't mention, like the whole thing that I love about my tulips is I love winter. So I've never enjoyed summer. Even though I love growing all this stuff, I've never enjoyed summer. Not until like 2 years ago. I love winter. Actually, the other day I saw something like only 200 more days until it's snowing and we're skiing. So that's me. But the
Yeah.
tulips have brought the best of both worlds. You know, I get
Yeah.
to enjoy the winter, but I
Mhm.
also get to sit in greenery. Um,
Mm.
so I feel very blessed that I have all these options, right? When I start to go downhill, I can go out and cut tulips and provide beauty for the world. Um,
Mhm.
or I can go for my walk where I live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and you know what's so interesting is so often I end up talking with with guests about different kind of morning routines or evening routines. And my guest, Joanna, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't have like a morning ritual. Maybe you do a cup of coffee, but what you really have the knack for and the ability to do is to kind of tap into where you're at, kind of being fully aware of where you are at, kind of energetically, emotionally, and then respond to that with different kind of habits that you kind of tap into when it's needed. And that is, does that sound like an accurate, um, if you look at your habits, kind of you tap into them here and there as they,
So
as you need
there's a
to?
hummingbird that was just staring at me right here.
Oh, fun.
So I'll be honest, I'm a spin instructor of like 10 years. I don't know, forever. I've been teaching spin forever. And I teach yoga one morning a week and I teach spin. So I get up and go
Get up and
from September until last week was my last week of teaching. And I will tell you that coffee, yes, always coffee. Probably 2 cups of coffee, sometimes 3 before I go to spin. And they're like, my goodness. um, but I oftentimes will wake up and I'll be tired and groggy, but I have to do it for other people. And even with my yoga class, so Liz Brennan was at my yoga class this morning and it was great. Like it went by, I was like, oh no, we got to get into Shavasana because it was just like so fun. We just kept going and going. Um, but there are a lot of days where I don't have the energy or I feel like I don't have the energy to give other people. But as an instructor, you have to.
right.
And on top of that, people rely on me. And I think to myself, like, gosh, if I need yoga in my life, these people need yoga in their life too. So I'm going to show up for them. And when I show up for them and they show up for me, it's like this synergy that happens. And that's how my day starts.
And that's how your day starts, right? With the yoga.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yoga,
So
spin, movement, definitely body
movement.
movement, right? So my
Yeah.
job is very physical. The crates that I grow my tulips in are 50, 60 pounds. And if it's a sunny day, I have to get out there and start shifting. So my day, I kind of hit the ground running,
You hit the
like most
ground
people
running.
do.
Yeah.
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 So I
Mhm.
don't take time for a gratitude practice. I don't
Right.
sit and meditate for 10 minutes every morning. That stuff
Right.
comes to me. So on this walk that I do and I post on my Instagram stories often, there's this little water pump and I'll sit there with my dog and I'll watch the osprey and the blue heron and fish.
Mm.
And it's where I went for the solar eclipse. I went skinny dipping by myself in the middle of the woods. It's like, I want to go where nobody else is going to be. And that was in the forest over there.
Oh,
And I jumped in the water and it was freezing. But it was like, I appreciate that
oh, you.
life that I have.
Oh, that's you froze for a
Wow.
minute. So
I froze.
you did,
Oh.
yes.
Where did I freeze?
You appreciate the life that you live, but
Yeah.
other people may have heard it and just not me. I don't know. We'll see how this
Yeah.
plays out. Um, Does anybody have any questions that, you didn't freeze for Alyssa, so that's good.
Yeah.
So does anybody have any questions they want to ask Joanna or kind of some aha moments or kind of, I love to open this space up for other people to kind of share or reflect. Um, Anybody have any questions or anything? And I also feel like the Wi-Fi is kind of wonky here, so. Anybody have any?
No, I think it's, oh, this is Patty speaking.
Yeah.
I think, Joanna, that you do a lot of communing with nature. And I would love to try and incorporate that more. And I too am not a real fan of summer, but it will afford me the opportunity to do more things. Like we have, what's it called here in Hollis, Lisa? Is it Beaver Brook? We have
Yeah.
Beaver Brook and, you're out in the bog area and,
Mhm.
trees, all kinds of flora and fauna and things like that. Cause I'm right in, in Nashville, which is very overdeveloped. So not a lot is left to be able to do that with. So, I think when you say you live in gratitude, I can certainly understand that with your walk, your yoga, your meditation, where you practice it, but in a different way than others, like not journaling with that. So
Yeah.
that's wonderful to hear, and it's really refreshing. Now I'm gonna go to Beaverbrook on Friday. That's
Do
just
it.
it. Gotta do
Yes,
it. Yeah.
do it. That's one thing. That's how I love winter so much is I get out every single day. Like it can be 15 minutes. 13 is my magic number. I love the temperature 13. You know why? Because it's so cold that most people don't want to be outside. So you have the ski.
Yes.
Well, you used to have the ski trails to yourself, but since COVID, everybody's skiing. But cross country skiing, walking in the woods, snowshoeing. We have a wood fired hot tub. It's so much work. Susan Stella gave it to us. Yes. And we use it and we love it so much. And I think like getting outside brings every single day, regardless, even if it's rainy, you get out there and it makes you appreciate the simple things. Earth,
It,
right?
I think you
Yeah.
described that so beautifully, Joanna, because I think that, right, I was thinking about just the simple act of cutting the flowers, because I've been out every day. I'm out there cutting my peonies because I don't let them grow out there. They come in the house, and that just that simple act of cutting them to bring them in the house just brings joy and gratitude. So
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
yeah, it's and being when you get outside in nature, you become so much more present. And I think
Yeah.
that that naturally kind of triggers us to be grateful. So, Susan, go ahead, Susan.
I wanted to acknowledge, like, I love the idea of the transition with your children, and that mindset you have to sort of look beyond and what's next. And I really
Who
appreciate
knew it was so hard?
I know. I know. I mean, I have a 10-year-old, but it's all coming. It's coming. But also like what changed, I used to do a lot more writing and a lot more reading. And since I had my kids, I also don't do that. And I give myself a big guilt trip over it. But this conversation is reminding me that we've instilled it in different ways. So I was just going to share that we, every night when we sit down for dinner, we go around the table and we say something that we appreciate. And so now my children have that, like they initiate that. But I think I need to start, but I keep thinking I need to write it down. I need to write it down. But you know what? Maybe we won't. But I appreciate, Joanna, that you mentioning the alternatives to what I think we are told we need to do, because I think being in nature is a form of meditation, to your point.
Absolutely, Susan. And I think at the same time, kind of granting ourselves grace through different seasons. We all go through, different seasons. And one of those seasons is the chaos of raising kids, right? And so to kind of recognize that those kinds of practices can kind of ebb and flow, and that our priorities are different. Your priorities are very different when you've got young kids that you are
Right.
raising, and that you are teaching them gratitude at the dinner table. I think is wonderful, and I think that they will carry that with them. So give yourself a pat on the back and don't beat yourself up because you're not doing those things that you did before they came along. You'll get back to it at another time. So
But Susan, you live in an era where you have cell phones and you can record some of your cute 10-year-old doing things. Like I didn't get a
oh
cell phone
yeah.
until my son was after he was born. I got the flip phone. And I think often how like do I remember things deeper in my soul because I wasn't constantly doing this, right? Recording.
Mhm.
But there are so many things that I wish I could have documented. Just their little voice or the pitter patter of their feet. And
Yeah.
Alyssa, she has little kids still. And the other ones, their kids are older, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think if I could go back in time, I would have definitely recorded, write it down. Maybe your journal could be like, oh, this is what Henry said tonight.
A video journal, right? Yeah.
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 Alyssa?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm gonna try to get my hand lowered.
Oh, hi, Bryn.
Oh, Bryn says hi. Speaking of the
Mm.
kids, they're going shopping together. Bryn's home from college, but so fun about this. I loved how initially, you know, you were asking Anna, you know, what her gratitude this is, and Anna, you're an artist, you're a creative person. That, and what was so beautiful, like you couldn't say I have a practice, but it took hearing you talk about life to realize that like your life is a gratitude practice from the time that I've spent, and regardless of what your car is starting, I don't know, but regardless of what you're going through, gratitude is always a part of it. And so it was fun to see how you've been able to just integrate gratitude into life and such an inspiring. So I appreciate that. And it was fun to kind of Zoom call here and just see how it revealed itself. I think it's something that you weren't even aware of, that you inspire me with all the time as your friend. And it's like, you don't have a practice where you're like, this is my time for gratitude. It's just interwoven into every part of your life. The contrast of light and dark kind of reveals it. And it, you know, it's just like always right there for you. And you share it with everyone, you know, part of why we all love you. It's not just because of the light, you know, we're complex human beings, just, you know, so grateful for you. And it was just fun to see. I'm an artist, so I'm not super structured. My life's a little crazy, 4 kids. So it was also nice to see that gratitude doesn't have to be super structured. It can just be like, how will I invite this into my life whenever and wherever I go.
I love that. And I love you.
Camera. I'm going to shut my camera off again now, but thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Alyssa. I think, yeah. I think that you are a beautiful example of kind of that living in gratitude, Joanna. And I think people pick up on that.
Thanks,
And
Lisa.
I think and what I love about this conversation is how it can really kind of inspire, I think, all of us to think about what are those ways that we can invite kind of gratitude and beauty and joy into the day, every day kind of deal.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely. At an early age, I got very involved in community service, and that's something that I haven't had time for. I mean, sure, I could make time for it, but my job was being the best mom I could possibly be, doing PTA and, you know, creating these businesses. But that is something that I recently started doing work with the food pantry here in our town, but I wish I could give back more, right? I'm so grateful I don't have a lot. I have a lot of beautiful things and space, but I don't have a lot. And it doesn't matter. I'm just so grateful that I have this lifestyle, or I've created this lifestyle with this family and my friends and my community. And I really wish I could give back. Like, I'm so grateful. I wish I could give back. So that's something that I want to work on. And that's not something I probably will share and shout with the world, because I think for me, I don't need people to see my service to others, right? I do it out of the goodness of my heart. And I wish people did. And I'm glad people help people out. But I think a lot of times people do things, you know, for likes or shares or whatever, social media, which is fine too. Like, if you're being kind and good to other humans, then good for you, right? We need more of that. But I know that is something that I want to practice more of,
Yeah.
is giving back wherever I can, however I can.
Yeah.
And that might
things
be
will
just
come,
hugging.
things will come to you. You put it out in the universe, and things
Oh, yeah.
things will come. Right,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
So does anybody else have any questions or thoughts I know different people have kind of typed in here too. Let me just take a quick peek to see if there's anything.
Mhm. You guys are all so nice.
Well, I am so grateful we were able to make this happen, Joanna, and I love all your plants in the backyard.
Mm,
So-
thank you. It is going to get absolutely gorgeous. And Lisa, you should come visit me. It's going to explode. It's like August, it's fabulous. And late August, it's like out of control. It gets really, really beautiful. And we live out here.
I bet
yeah.
you do.
Mm.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Alyssa. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
She was just saying thank you. So,
Yeah.
so I want to give people one more quick chance if anybody has anything that they wanted to ask or comment on or anything, and if not, we can certainly wrap things up. This is being recorded, and I will email this out to everybody who was here, as well as people who had registered and weren't here. So anyways,
So I'd like to just share one quote that has really
Yes.
resonated with me, and I've kind of lived by this. I don't even remember the first time I read it or heard it. But it's say no without guilt and say yes without fear. And say no without guilt and yes without fear. And I think that came to me in the really busy ages of my children, right? Middle school, where they didn't have their license, but they were in 5 kajillion things. And I was constantly saying yes to everything, right? And I was spread way too thin. And I think learning to say no is one of the best things you can do for yourself, right? Say no without guilt. And yes, without fear. I'm the most spontaneous person. If my girlfriends asked me to go out to dinner in 2 weeks, I'd say nope. But if they asked me the night before, I'd be like, yep, I'm there. And that's just kind of how I live. It's just how I'm wired. I worked with a business coach on that. And the hardest thing for me was logging into my computer every Tuesday morning to sit and check in with her, because I am not wired for a schedule. That's a practice, right? So, but I live with that, the say no without guilt and say yes without fear.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah,
That is a great,
yeah.
I don't know that I've ever heard that either.
No,
I don't know who
haven't.
said it.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, well, thank you, ladies.
Thank you, friends, near and far. I love this.
You
Thank you,
friends,
Lisa.
yeah. Yep.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.